They called her just the janitor, while she quietly bought their entire company from under them. The 42nd floor of Sterling Financial Tower buzzed with the typical Friday morning energy that comes when million-dollar deals hang in the balance. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Atlanta's bustling Peachtree Street, the morning sun caught the polished marble floors that Marissa Daniels had just finished cleaning. She moved silently between the glass-walled conference rooms, her navy blue uniform and wheeled cart, making her nearly invisible to the sharp-suited agents gathered around the coffee station. To them, she was part of the furniture, background noise in their world of high-stakes investments and corporate takeovers. "Look, even the cleaning lady wants to listen to our billion-dollar deals," chuckled Richard Sterling, the firm's lead acquisition agent, his voice dripping with casual dismissal as he noticed Marissa organizing papers near the break room. Amanda Cross, the senior advisor, laughed while stirring her imported coffee. "Maybe she thinks she'll learn something useful for once, though I doubt she'd understand a word of what we're discussing." Marcus Webb, eager to impress his superiors, gestured toward Marissa with his croissant. "Should we explain what a merger is? Or would that be too complicated?" Their laughter echoed through the pristine hallway, sharp and cutting. Other employees glanced over, some uncomfortable, others simply indifferent to the daily microaggressions that had become as routine as the morning coffee run. Marissa continued her work, her expression calm and focused, but her hand moved subtly to the phone in her uniform pocket as it vibrated with an incoming notification. The screen displayed a message that would have silenced the mocking voices instantly had they been able to see it. "Final acquisition documents signed. MD Holdings now owns 67% controlling interest in Sterling Financial. Congratulations, Miss Daniels. The board meeting is confirmed for 2 p.m. today." She glanced up at the agents, still absorbed in their cruel entertainment, completely unaware that the woman they were mocking had just become their new boss. Her fingers traced the phone's edge as she calculated. In exactly 5 hours, their entire world would change. The irony was delicious. While they saw her as invisible, she had spent 3 years studying every weakness in their business model, every inefficiency in their leadership structure, every discriminatory practice they thought went unnoticed. Richard Sterling was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone assumes doesn't belong there. If you think you know where this is going, you're about to be shocked. Hit that like button, because this story will change how you see everyone around you. 3 years earlier, Marissa Daniels had walked through the marble lobby of Sterling Financial Tower with a very different purpose than anyone could have guessed. While other applicants arrived in expensive suits clutching impressive resumes, she had come wearing work clothes and carrying a simple application for the janitorial position. Growing up in Atlanta's Grant Park neighborhood, Marissa learned early that survival required strategy. Her father, Marcus, drove city buses for 32 years, while her mother, Joyce, worked double shifts as a hospital technician. They never owned much, but they owned their principles. Work hard, stay humble, and never let anyone convince you that you're less than what you know yourself to be. "Baby girl," her father would say during their evening talks on the front porch, "the most powerful people I know are the ones nobody expects to have power." Those words echoed in her mind the night she graduated summa cum laude from Emory University's business school. While her classmates celebrated with champagne and networking events, Marissa was already plotting something far more ambitious than climbing the corporate ladder. She was planning to buy it. The janitorial job at Sterling Financial wasn't a step down. It was strategic positioning. While they sipped their $20 lattes, she studied their discarded financial reports. Her uniform pockets held more than cleaning supplies. They held USB drives full of market analysis and encrypted files containing detailed assessments of the firm's vulnerabilities. During her night shifts, when the building emptied and silence filled the corridors, Marissa transformed from invisible custodian to financial mastermind. She would sit in the same conference rooms where she'd been dismissed, using their computers to build sophisticated financial models. Her laptop, hidden in her cleaning cart, contained spreadsheets that would have impressed the Harvard MBAs who looked through her during the day. The shell company MD Holdings was born on one of those quiet nights. Marissa had discovered that Sterling Financial's rapid expansion had left them cash poor and vulnerable to a strategic acquisition. Using her savings, student loan forgiveness money, and a carefully structured investment plan, she began purchasing shares through various subsidiary companies. Each dismissive comment, each moment of being treated as invisible, each assumption about her intelligence was carefully documented in a secure digital file. Her phone's voice recorder had captured months of conversations where agents discussed sensitive company information, assuming the cleaning lady couldn't possibly understand or care about their business dealings. But what these agents didn't know was that every dismissive comment was being carefully documented for reasons they'd never see coming. By month 18, Marissa owned 12% of Sterling Financial through various holding companies. By month 24, she controlled 28%. The final pieces fell into place when the firm's board, desperate for capital to fund their latest acquisition spree, unknowingly sold controlling interest to the very woman they passed in the hallways without a second glance. While Richard Sterling bragged about his latest deals, Marissa was becoming his boss. While Amanda Cross complained about diversity initiatives being forced on the company, Marissa was preparing to lead the most transformative change in the firm's history. The student had become the teacher, and class was about to begin. Friday, September 15th. The day that would redefine Sterling Financial forever. The morning started with Richard Sterling strutting through the office like he owned the place, which, in his mind, he practically did. Third-generation wealth had cushioned every step of his career, from his Ivy League connections to his corner office overlooking downtown Atlanta. His grandfather had founded Sterling Financial, and Richard wore that legacy like armor against anyone he deemed unworthy of sharing his space. "Big day today, people," Richard announced to the gathered agents, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. "The Henderson Group acquisition closes at 2, and then we celebrate another victory for the Sterling legacy." Amanda Cross nodded approvingly from her position near the window. She had perfected the art of appearing progressive while enabling the very systems she claimed to oppose. Her diversity committee meetings were legendary for their lack of actual diversity, and her mentorship programs somehow never seemed to mentor anyone who didn't already look like the existing leadership. "Richard's right," Amanda said, her tone measured and professional. "This acquisition will position us perfectly for next quarter's expansion, though I do hope we can maintain our company culture during the transition." Marcus Webb, the eager junior agent desperate to prove himself worthy of the Sterling inner circle, seized his moment. He pulled out his phone and began recording as Marissa quietly emptied trash bins near their conversation area. "Day in the life of corporate diversity," Marcus whispered to his camera, zooming in on Marissa's focused work. "Check out how dedicated our cleaning staff is to, well, cleaning." Richard chuckled, not bothering to lower his voice. "I bet she doesn't even know what a P&L statement is. Probably thinks it stands for Polish and laundry." The group erupted in laughter. Amanda's response was perfectly calculated, disapproving enough to maintain her progressive image, but not strong enough to actually challenge the behavior. "Well, at least she's reliable in her role," Amanda said with a diplomatic smile that fooled no one who was paying attention. What none of them noticed was Marissa's phone buzzing constantly in her pocket. Text after text confirmed the final pieces of her plan. Legal team in position. Conference room secured. Board notification sent. Meeting confirmed for 2 p.m. All documentation verified. You're officially majority shareholder. At 11:30 a.m., 3 men in expensive suits entered the building's lobby, briefcases in hand. The receptionist directed them to the executive conference room, where they began setting up documents for what the building directory listed as MD Holdings acquisition meeting. Richard noticed the activity and smirked. "Looks like our mystery buyer finally decided to show up, probably some tech startup with more money than sense." "I heard it's some holding company," Amanda added. "MD Holdings or something generic like that. Probably another corporate raider looking to strip our assets. Marcus, still filming intermittently, caught Marissa walking past their group. "Hey, cleaning lady," he called out, loud enough for his phone to pick up. "You might want to work extra hard today. New ownership might mean cleaning house, if you know what I mean." The cruel laughter that followed would later become evidence in the discrimination case that would reshape the entire industry. But Marissa simply smiled and continued her work, checking her watch. In 2.5 hours, she would walk into that conference room, not as the invisible janitor, but as the new majority owner of Sterling Financial. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and they had no idea the trap had already been set. Comment below if you've ever been underestimated because of how you look. This next part is for everyone who's been counted out. At exactly 2 p.m., the executive conference room filled with Sterling Financial's leadership team, all eagerly awaiting their first meeting with the mysterious buyer who had been acquiring their shares. The lawyers from MD Holdings had arranged documents across the polished mahogany table, creating an air of formality that made even Richard Sterling straighten his tie. "So where is this mystery investor?" Richard asked, glancing at his Rolex. "Fashionably late, I suppose. Probably some hedge fund manager who thinks he can waltz in and tell us how to run our family business." The legal team remained professional but silent, simply indicating that their client would arrive momentarily. Amanda Cross shuffled through her notes, preparing talking points about the firm's commitment to excellence and traditional values. Marcus Webb had his phone ready, hoping to capture content for his social media about major corporate moves. The conference room door opened, and Marissa Daniels stepped inside, still wearing her navy blue janitorial uniform, carrying a small bag. The room fell silent for exactly 3 seconds before Richard burst into laughter. "Did someone call maintenance?" he snorted, looking around the table. "This is a private meeting, sweetheart. The toilets are down the hall." Amanda's face flushed with embarrassment, not for the comment, but for the potential HR implications. "Marissa, this really isn't the appropriate time for cleaning. We're in the middle of important business." Marcus couldn't resist. "Maybe she's here to take out the trash," he whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Marissa stood calmly in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Without saying a word, she reached up and began unbuttoning her uniform jacket. Underneath, she wore a perfectly tailored charcoal business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. The laughter died instantly. She walked to the head of the table, placing her bag down and removing a leather portfolio filled with legal documents. Her transformation was complete, from invisible custodian to commanding executive in a matter of seconds. "Gentlemen, ladies," Marissa said, her voice carrying an authority that silenced every whisper. "I'm MD Holdings. I'm your new majority shareholder." Richard's face went through several shades of pale before settling on an alarming gray. "That's impossible. You're just the janitor?" Marissa interrupted, her eyes meeting his directly. "The one you thought was too stupid to understand your business? I've been studying this firm for 3 years. I know every weakness, every inefficiency, every discriminatory practice." She opened her portfolio and spread acquisition documents across the table. Official letterhead, signatures, legal seals, everything that confirmed her ownership of 67% of Sterling Financial. "This has to be some kind of mistake," Amanda stammered, her carefully constructed professional demeanor cracking. "Marissa, we always respected." "Stop." Marissa's voice cut through the attempted backpedaling like a knife. "I have recordings, Amanda. Every dismissive comment, every joke, every time you enabled this toxic culture while pretending to champion diversity." She pulled out her phone and played a brief audio clip. Richard's voice saying, "I bet she doesn't even know what a P&L statement is. Probably thinks it stands for Polish and laundry." The silence that followed was deafening. Marissa moved to the head chair, Richard's chair, and sat down with the confidence of someone who belonged there. The power shift was immediate and undeniable. Effective immediately, this firm will operate under new leadership principles: merit-based advancement, zero tolerance for discrimination, and transparency in all dealings. Marcus Webb's phone had been recording the entire time, but now his hands shook as he realized he'd documented his own career suicide. I know what you're thinking, Marissa continued, her voice softening slightly. That this is about revenge, but it's not. She paused, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability that showed the real woman behind the strategic mastermind. I didn't do this for revenge. I did this because talent shouldn't be wasted because of the color of someone's skin or the assumptions people make. Because every brilliant mind that gets overlooked is a loss for all of us. She looked around the table at faces that had spent years dismissing her, now forced to confront the reality that the woman they'd considered beneath their notice had outmaneuvered them completely. The question now, Marissa said, is whether you're willing to be part of the solution or if you'll become part of the past. The changes began within hours. Richard Sterling was escorted from the building by 4 p.m., his family nameplate removed from the office door he'd occupied for 12 years. The documented evidence of his discriminatory behavior, recorded conversations, email threads, witness testimonies, made his termination swift and legally bulletproof. His final words as security walked him out were a sputtered threat about lawsuits that his own lawyers would later advise him to abandon. Amanda Cross faced a different fate. During a tense one-on-one meeting, Marissa offered her a choice: genuine accountability or immediate departure. Amanda chose to stay, accepting a demotion to junior advisor and mandatory enrollment in comprehensive bias training. Her diversity committee would now be led by actual diverse voices, with Amanda serving as a case study in performative allyship. Marcus Webb received the most generous offer, a reflection of Marissa's belief in redemption over destruction. You're young, she told him during their private conversation. Young people make mistakes. The question is whether you learn from them or repeat them. Marcus chose growth. He deleted his social media videos, issued public apologies, and became the firm's most vocal advocate for change. His transformation from entitled junior agent to genuine ally would later inspire similar conversions throughout the industry. The new policies rolled out like dominoes falling in perfect sequence. An anonymous reporting system allowed employees to safely document discrimination without fear of retaliation. Mentorship programs paired senior staff with junior employees from underrepresented backgrounds, creating pathways that had never existed before. Promotion criteria became transparent for the first time in the firm's history. No more culture fit evaluations that mysteriously favored certain demographics. No more networking requirements that excluded those without country club connections. Merit became the only currency that mattered. The Community Investment Initiative launched with a $50 million commitment to financial literacy programs in Atlanta's underserved neighborhoods. Marissa wanted Sterling Financial to become a bridge builder, not a gatekeeper. Within a week, other employees began speaking up. Janet Rodriguez from accounting revealed years of being passed over for promotions, despite superior performance. David Kim from IT shared how his ideas had been routinely credited to less qualified colleagues. Patricia Johnson from HR admitted she'd been pressured to reject diverse candidates for cultural reasons. Their stories fueled a company-wide reckoning that became a model for corporate transformation. The media attention was immediate and intense. The janitor who became CEO became a national headline. News outlets, podcasts, and business journals dissected every aspect of Marissa's strategy. Harvard Business School requested permission to develop a case study. Industry conferences invited her as their keynote speaker. But the moment that mattered most to Marissa came on a Tuesday afternoon when her parents visited the office. Marcus and Joyce Daniels walked through the marble lobby with their heads held high, their daughter leading them to the corner office that now bore her name. "Daddy," Marissa said, placing her hand on her father's shoulder as they looked out over Atlanta's skyline. "Remember what you told me about powerful people being the ones nobody expects?" Marcus Daniels smiled, his eyes bright with pride. "Baby girl, you just proved that wisdom comes in all packages." During her first all-hands meeting, Marissa addressed the entire company with a simple but powerful message. "I want this to be a place where no one has to hide their brilliance, where your potential isn't limited by other people's assumptions, where the cleaning lady can become the CEO, and where that shouldn't surprise anyone." The applause lasted for 3 full minutes. Subscribe if you believe in second chances and first impressions being wrong. Ring that notification bell because stories like this need to be heard. 6 months after the transformation, Sterling Financial's quarterly reports told a story that silenced every skeptic. Profits had increased by 42% under inclusive leadership. Employee retention reached an all-time high. Client satisfaction scores broke company records. The business case for diversity wasn't theoretical anymore. It was documented, measurable, and undeniably profitable. Marissa stood at the podium of the National Leadership Summit in Chicago, addressing an audience of Fortune 500 CEOs who had flown in specifically to hear her speak. Her keynote, "The Hidden Cost of Assumptions," had become the most requested corporate presentation in the country. "The most expensive mistake any company can make," she told the packed auditorium, "is underestimating the people right in front of them. Every brilliant mind you overlook because of bias is a competitive advantage you're handing to your rivals." The applause was thunderous, but more importantly, the changes were real. Companies across the nation began implementing Sterling protocols, anonymous reporting systems, transparent promotion criteria, and community investment programs modeled after Marissa's innovations. The consulting firm that emerged to help organizations adopt these practices was led by an unlikely founder, Richard Sterling. His transformation had been genuine and complete. The man who once made racist jokes now traveled the country helping executives confront their own biases. His sessions were particularly powerful because he spoke from authentic experience about the cost of prejudice, not just to its victims, but to the organizations that allowed it to flourish. Amanda Cross had found her authentic voice, leading Sterling Financial's inclusion initiatives. Her programs, now guided by actual diverse perspectives rather than performative gestures, became industry benchmarks. Her journey from enabler to advocate proved that even the most entrenched attitudes could evolve with proper accountability and education. The ripple effects extended far beyond corporate boardrooms. Universities began teaching the Daniels case study in business ethics courses. Leadership programs incorporated modules on recognizing hidden talent. High schools invited Marissa to speak about perseverance and strategic thinking. But the moment that touched Marissa most deeply came on a quiet Thursday evening as she worked late in her corner office. She noticed the new night custodian, a young black man named Anthony, studying accounting textbooks during his break. She approached him during his shift, not carrying 2 cups of coffee. "CPA exam?" she asked, nodding toward his books. Anthony looked up, surprised. "Yes, ma'am. Working here nights to pay for school. Hope to have my own firm someday." Marissa smiled, remembering her own night spent studying financial reports in these same halls. "Anthony, I want you to remember something important. Never let anyone make you feel invisible. Sometimes being underestimated is your greatest advantage." She handed him her business card. "When you're ready to take that next step, come see me. This company believes in investing in talent, no matter where we find it." Marissa Daniels had proved that genius doesn't announce itself with designer suits and corner offices. Sometimes it comes in work uniforms and quiet determination. Sometimes the person cleaning your office today becomes the person leading your industry tomorrow. The next time you see someone in a uniform, remember Marissa's story. The next time you hear someone being dismissed because of how they look or where they come from, speak up. Because in every workplace, in every community, there are brilliant minds waiting for their moment to shine. Marissa Daniels didn't just change one company, she changed how we think about potential, about assumptions, about the power that lies hidden in plain sight. Her journey from invisible janitor to transformational CEO proves that greatness isn't about where you start, it's about where you refuse to stop. This story isn't just entertainment. It's a wake-up call. In boardrooms across America, in offices around the world, there are people being overlooked right now because others can't see past their uniforms, their accents, or their zip codes. Share in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated? What would you do in Marissa's position? Your story matters, and this community wants to hear it. Hit that like button if you believe talent has no color, no gender, no zip code. Every like sends a message that merit matters more than misconceptions. Subscribe to Living Tales for more stories that prove justice isn't just a dream. It's a choice we make every day. Together, we're building a community that sees potential everywhere and refuses to let brilliance go unrecognized. The revolution starts with recognition, and recognition starts with you.